Happy Friday, everybody. It's Jim, it's Amedeus, and boy, do we got a lot to talk about today. Just to finish my thought about Bleacher Report, which we were talking about earlier, uh, it got very clickbaity, and the thing is that when you start a story there, it goes in a totally different direction, and you're like, wait a minute, they've hooked me in, those son of a guns, So, anyway, that's a discussion that we were having about the old versus the new. Anyway, it's the old joke about change is good for everybody but you and me. So there you go. All right, my friend. Last night, little quick review. Uh, Baseball wise, we got a lot of PO'd Philadelphia Phillies fans who felt that home plate umpire lost what the strike zone should be, and they got walked off, and you got the Astros winning in Arlington. That series is 2-2, and so we head into the weekend with some unfinished business, my friend.
Yeah, it looks like the MLB got what they want. They got one series. Looks like it was gonna go the distance, so they had to help out the Diamondbacks.
Yeah,
Extend that series a little further. I
just
know
push it
there
out there a
was
little longer.
yeah, I know there was some angry Philly fans last night. Rye Cape was not happy about what was going on. I was on the Phillies myself, so wasn't happy about that. But yeah, we'll see if the Diamondbacks can tie it up now, I guess.
Well, that is to be determined. We'll find out tonight in the desert. That game, by the way, for those who plan on watching baseball tonight, you've got an early game. Okay, you got a 5:07 first pitch. That would be the game in Houston. I'm sorry, in Arlington. So that's the game in Arlington, and the game in Arizona has an 8 o'clock first pitch. So you know they give you some time between the games there to get to get that taken care of. So there you go. Those are your starting times again. 5:07 first pitch in in the game in Arlington, and then of course out in Phoenix, the 8:07 first pitch for the Phillies and the Diamondbacks. So if you're going to make your plans tonight, then that's where you go. Football wise, it's an American game, and it is the soon to be headed to the ACC SMU Mustangs in Philly to face Temple University tonight. ESPN. Armis Sharoff, Andre Ware, Paul Casorella on the call of the game. So there you go.
Yeah, not a great game tonight. SMU versus Temple. Obviously, we have SMU trading in an A for a C in their conference next year. But yeah, they'll be. This is one where this line opened up around like 17, and it's gotten up to 22, 23 and a half now for SMU.
They're
And
not
the
that good.
they're not that good. And I was leaning more towards SMU around when it was 19 and a half. Now, I don't know if I would take it, but I think a big reason why the line is moving so much is because it looks like EJ Warner is going to be out for the Temple Owls. So,
That's a good reason.
yeah, this is one of those where I would have liked SMU under 20. Now that
Mm-hmm.
it's over 20, absolutely not. And but you can't bet on Temple without EJ Warner because that's a complete
That
wild
would
card.
not be that would not be a good plan.
Yeah, they could score nothing in this game. Now, if EJ Warner was playing, completely different story because I probably would have taken the 20 points with Temple because, as you
Mm-hmm.
said, this is a lot of points for SMU. But I just think it's almost an unbettable game just because of how
Right.
much the line has moved and the uncertainty at quarterback for Temple. So, and it's the only game tonight. They really screwed us this Friday, Jim,
Yeah, they did. They gave us
especially after such a great Friday
an
last week too.
unwatchable game. Um, Rice rolled, by the way, over Tulsa last night, and we
Yeah.
talked about you had nailed it, and that was James Madison in a game that was weird from a scoring standpoint until the fourth quarter when things got totally out of hand.
Yeah, I was definitely expecting more scoring in this game.
Mm-hmm.
James Madison, we've talked about how great their run defense is, but they're
Mm-hmm.
definitely susceptible to the passing game. So I'm
Yeah.
surprised. Obviously, I think Marshall, I think Fancher's their back quarterback anyway, so
Mm-hmm.
they were dealing with that situation, obviously. But yeah, I was expecting more scoring. I actually gave out the over, but obviously, here on the show for free, gave out James Madison -3.5, so that one cashed at least. And yeah, James Madison is just looking like a beast of a team this year
Yeah.
for sure. I
Well,
think their goal is to go undefeated and say to the NCAA, you know, you're going to keep us out of a bowl game. This is one of those force the hands situation here.
yeah. I mean, for those who don't know the rule is that when you become, um, a D1 team, you have to wait 4 years to participate in any bowls. It's a stupid rule. It has always been a stupid rule. It will continue to be a stupid rule because I guarantee you that there will be teams that James Madison could beat by probably 15 or 20 points who will get bowl opportunities, and James Madison will not be one of them. So it's a foolish rule, and the NCAA has a lot of foolish rules, but I don't know that they'll change it. I hope that they would. That would be kind of cool if they did. So we
Yeah, this
shall
is
see.
this is also a team that couldn't compete in the conference championship
Right.
last year, and I think they can't compete this year either. I'm not 100%
Yeah.
sure.
Again, it's 2 years on that. It's 4 years on the bowl.
Yeah, just absolutely ridiculous. So that also means Jacksonville State is a team that can't, because it's an NCAA rule. You said, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then again, a team like Jacksonville State, who probably could end up in the Conference USA
Mm-hmm.
Championship, so they're another team that gets penalized for
Mm-hmm.
for being good. And I agree with you; it makes absolutely no sense. And if the NCAA is going to start changing all these rules with the transfer portal, we need
Mm-hmm.
to look into things like this as well.
Absolutely. It's just nuts. All right. So tomorrow, bless you, my producer sneezing. Um, let's go through. We're gonna go by network on this one because it's easier. The noon game on ABC is your Oklahoma Sooners being visited by Central Florida. This one, you know, this one has style points written all over it for Oklahoma.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting game. I hear John Reese Plumley is coming back for UCF. Obviously, they've
Yeah.
struggled in their last few games without him. But yeah, this is one where Oklahoma's coming off their bye, and they're going to have a ton of confidence after beating Texas in their last game.
Mm-hmm.
People are starting to talk about them, like the All-State FPI rankings or something has them as the best chance to win the national title this
Mm-hmm.
year. But they're not even in the top four right now. So yeah, this is a game where Oklahoma it definitely has to prove themselves still. I think obviously, as we've talked about with Florida State, they feel like they needed style points to get up into the top four. Oklahoma's in a similar position. UCF, though, they're still looking for their first Big 12 win as a Big 12 team. So they're going to be hungry in this game. And yeah, it's going to be this is one where I want to see how Oklahoma, I've been riding high on this Oklahoma team all
Sure.
year. So this is definitely a game where I want to see how they respond after getting the big win. Obviously, they had the bye, so the letdown spot's kind of gone by now, but still, they have to come out and they have to finish the season strong because beating Texas doesn't get you to the championship game and it doesn't get you into the top four. You got to finish the season.
Well, one of the things that happened this weekend at practice was they got a visit from Bob Stoops, who was the last Oklahoma coach to win a national championship. And you know, this is a team, this Oklahoma team, that is incredibly talented, and I firmly believe that if they play to their abilities the rest of the season, that they absolutely have a better than puncher's chance at being the national champion. But, and I'm sure the Stoops did this because Bobby's pretty smart, explain to them how beating somebody is important, and beating somebody badly is even more important. And UCF, look, if Plumlee shows up, that's great for UCF. It's not enough. Okay, Plumlee could have the best game of his career, and it still wouldn't be enough if Oklahoma's playing the kind of game that they have to play. And so, I don't know. We'll see, but I don't think this is where UCF gets their first win in the conference. There'll be other times and other teams, but it won't be that. It won't be this week. Famous last words, Williams. Shut up and let the man who knows tell people what's going on.
Well, Vegas seems to agree. They have them as a 20-point underdog. It's actually been bet down to around 17 now.
Yeah.
So, but still, yeah, they have them by good 3 scores in this game.
Yeah, there's that sounds about right. Okay, Washington State gets heads over to Oregon for that game. I think Oregon's, we talked yesterday about the importance of being pissed off if you're a football team. After last week's game where, Washington and Oregon played, back and forth football, I don't think Oregon's going to have a letdown. Now, Washington State's talented, there's no question about that, but I don't think playing at home they're going to have a letdown.
Yeah, well, after losing, they definitely can't afford to have a letdown here. Mm-hmm. This is one where, as you said, they're gonna be pissed off after that loss. And it wasn't a bad loss. It wasn't like they got manhandled by Washington. They were right in that game. That's about as good of a loss as you can get. Yeah. And now, obviously, they got to hope Washington goes undefeated to make that loss look a little better. But at the same time, me and you have been talking up this Washington team all year about how they're the best in the country. So there's a very good chance they do go undefeated. And Oregon's got to keep that in mind because their season is not done. If that's their only loss, they definitely have to run the table now. They come into this game as a 20-point favorite, but I kind of like Oregon. I think you lay the 20 with them because they're going to be at home, pissed off. And this Washington State team, I liked them even after the loss to UCLA. I thought UCLA was going to win that one with the good defense, but laying an egg at home to Arizona last week was just unacceptable. You could say it was a look-ahead spot to Oregon, but that doesn't matter now that you have 2 losses in the conference going into Oregon. You've pretty much shot your conference championship chances if you had any. Yeah, if you had any to begin with. And now you're going on the road here, too. Like, if you couldn't, never mind beating Arizona, you didn't even put up a fight in that game at home, and now you want to head into Eugene, Oregon, and win this game? Yeah, I don't think so. I think this is a get-right spot for Oregon, and I think Washington State's going to struggle on that defense for sure.
Absolutely. I would totally agree. All right. The final game, 7:30 start, on Saturday night on ABC, is 2 ranked football teams. One a surprise and the other not. And that is Duke at Florida State. The game's being played at Doak Campbell Stadium on the campus of Florida State University in Tallahassee, Florida. And Duke comes in. We've seen Duke. Duke has had some success. They've only lost 1 game in the conference. FSU is hoping, they're ranked number 4 right now. They're hoping to stay in that in the number 4 slot or even better. And but Duke, on the other hand, is not a bad football team. Now here's one of those stats that may be totally meaningless. Okay, and that is Duke has never beaten Florida State in Tallahassee. They played them 21 times. They lost 21 times. So. Take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, well, this is one. Duke is a very good team. I hear they could be getting Riley Leonard back for this game, so that's probably something to monitor for sure if you're going to bet on it. Now, Florida State's a 14.5-point favorite in this game.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, but the issue for me here is Duke's got a very good defense. That's really what their strength is. They didn't have Riley Leonard last week, and they still dismantled North Carolina State at home. Now, obviously NC State is a much worse team than Florida State, and now Duke's going to be on the road. But if Riley Leonard's back in this game, I think they have a chance to keep it close.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen what this Duke defense has done to some of the better offenses. Obviously, we saw them suffocate Clemson in the first game of the season. Now Clemson hasn't been that great, but that game against Notre Dame, even though they lost, was they were right in that, obviously with the lead up until the end.
Yeah.
And their defense again suffocated a good Notre Dame team that bounced back last week with a 48-point game against USC. So definitely, I think this Duke defense is good enough to keep them in this game, especially if Riley Leonard is playing. Now it's a matter of how well will this defense play, because Florida State obviously has a very good offense. So we will see. But I think Duke has a chance here to keep it a close game.
I agree. I would totally agree. I think one of the I would say probably the toughest place to play in the ACC is Clemson, but Tallahassee's a close second. Both of those are way bigger stadiums than anybody else has got in the conference, and loud and obnoxious and just not fun to be in. So if Duke, I assume Duke spent most of the week working on doing signals without having to yell them out, because nobody's going to hear it. And that's a loud building, and it's a tough building to play in. So that home field advantage at Tallahassee it really is worth points. But we'll see how Duke does. Look, Duke's got a talented little team, and they're not to be overlooked. That's for darn sure.
And the other thing this Duke team has going for them is that their one loss was against Notre Dame, so they're actually undefeated in the ACC still. So they can run the table, and the confidence has to be high still.
Yeah, they would still be in the hunt. It would be weird for Duke to be playing for a championship in the ACC, but hey, stranger things have happened. So there you go.
Dude, right. They're a football school now, Jim. Come on.
That's right. Coach K retired. Time to play football. All right.
We've migrated over.
Exactly. Noon on CBS. It's the Commander-in-Chief Trophy. They're playing in Annapolis. It's Air Force and Navy, and I don't know about you, boss, but Air Force looks like they're gonna fly on over. A talented Navy team, but not as talented as they have been in the past.
Yeah, Air Force is definitely really good, but they're going to be missing Zach Larrier in this game, who's been a big part of why that offense moves so well, especially with the slight passing game that they have at times. He's really the one that moves that needle. But yeah, I think we talked about this game 2 days ago. I said take the points with Navy just because it was probably going to be a closer game in the end.
Absolutely. All right, the SEC game on CBS, which is 3:30, it's an SEC game that used to be a rivalry, and I say used to be because these teams were split up now, and one's in the East, the other's in the West. They play each other, on a yearly basis, but for whatever reason, the rivalry that once was there isn't there anymore. So we'll have to take a look and see why. But Tennessee and Alabama used to be a big one. It's not as big as it once was. So you got Tennessee, is going to Tuscaloosa to play, and in fairness, I got to say, I mean, this is a big game for both of these teams. I mean, whoever loses this game is destined to end up in a bowl game that is going to be really weird for them. It's going to be, we're talking about one of those off-brand bowl games, and we'll see how it works out. But Tennessee, Alabama, this is one of those survivor games, and I don't know, what's the line on Tennessee, Alabama?
Yeah, so this one's 8.5 for Alabama.
Really? Hmm.
Yeah, and again, it's. I think we talked about this earlier in the week. This is one where Tennessee just they're not that great this year.
Right.
They're definitely not what they were last year with Hendon Hooker, and
Yeah.
they struggled on the road. Obviously, they lost to your Florida
Sure.
Gators earlier this season on the road. This is going
I'd
to be
like to
very
think that's
tough.
because Florida's good, but
You know what? Their
it's not.
defense is very good, and Graham Mertz is completing something like 80% of his
Yeah.
passes this year. So maybe we were a little hard on Graham Mertz at the beginning of the season, but yeah, Florida's definitely impressed me. They're better than I thought they were going to be coming into the year for sure. But yeah, Tennessee, this is one of those where they're just not as good this year. They're on the road in this spot.
Right.
Alabama is actually in the driver's seat for the SEC West right now, just
Mm-hmm.
because they're what the I think they're the only undefeated team in
They
the
are.
conference because their
Yeah.
loss came to Texas. So
Right.
so they got that going for them. And I don't know, Jim, you say this rivalry is not as big as it used to be, but I say you tell that to the goalpost that traveled down the Tennessee River last year. But yeah,
Good point. Good
I,
point.
I think this is a big revenge spot probably for Alabama, and if anything, I would lay the 8.5 with them. That would be the only way I play this game.
Good plan. Good plan. So that's the game there, and
We're
then
riding Alabama to roll the tide of the goalpost all the way back to Tennessee.
well, all right, fair enough. We'll give them an opportunity. All right, on NBC. I'm sorry. Okay, NBC. The early game at 3:30 is Minnesota at Iowa. Um, sorry, I didn't mean to outwardly give a total gulp on that one, but I don't. Man, that's good. Why? Jeez. Of all the games, there must be nobody playing this weekend in in the in the Big Ten. I mean, there are a couple of games, obviously, that are important. We'll get to that in a minute, but this one, Minnesota at Iowa. I don't know. I don't see Minnesota beating Iowa at Iowa.
Hey, if you're a big fan of the pre Super Bowl era, then this
Right.
is the game for you, Jim. This
Yeah.
this is definitely the game if if you are still alive around that long. God bless your soul. This is the game for you to watch this weekend. Absolutely, this has got like a nice 7-3 written all over it. Something low scoring, but. Yeah, this Iowa team, they were impressive last week,
Yeah.
considering how bad their offense has been.
Right.
It was bad with Cade McNamara, so him being out for the season really doesn't downgrade this team whatsoever for me,
Mm-hmm.
because their offense has been awful for years when Spencer Petras was the quarterback, and yet this defense puts the team on their back and finds ways to win time
Yeah.
and time again. They have an amazing, turnover ratio. They, they're scoring more points than the offense in half their games.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is one I think Minnesota is going to struggle. But the under might be the play here, just because it's hard to see either team getting to 17 in this one.
The interesting thing to me on this is that Minnesota's coach is PJ Fleck, and 5 years ago, PJ Fleck was the hottest commodity on the planet from a coaching standpoint. And there were all kinds of rumors as to where he was going to go, but Minnesota, signed him up and put together a deal that was really cool, and so they kept PJ Fleck in place, and they haven't done anything since. So, is it PJ's fault? I don't. That's maybe not fair, but it's tough to. It's. I mean, you just look at Minnesota and go, where when are they going to break out of this malaise? But they don't seem to be able to do it. We'll see. All right, moving on. The primetime game on NBC is the Wolverines, number 2 ranked, Michigan, making the 95 to 100-mile trip over to East Lansing to face Michigan State. To say Michigan State's been a disaster would be, understating the term disaster. So yeah, it's been a mess. I don't see the Spartans giving Michigan much of a game.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting game to watch. I don't know if I'll have a
Oh no, I
wager
would
on
never
it
bet on it.
myself. Yeah, if like the only way I could go in this game is to lay the 24 with Michigan, and even then, I wouldn't want to do that just because there's a lot of bad blood here,
Oh yeah,
more than normal because of what happened last year. Now you have the new scandal that you mentioned yesterday
you
with
got two of them.
Michigan.
You got
Yeah,
one
yeah.
at Michigan State and you got one at Michigan.
Yeah, so Michigan State's been dealing with theirs for a while now. Michigan had one at the beginning of the season, and then it was like, oh, we're home free, but I'm still going to suspend myself anyway. And now
Yeah.
this even worse one comes out
Right.
midway through your season. So, yeah, both these teams have gone through the ringer this year. I don't know why you'd want to touch this game from a betting
Watch
standpoint,
it,
but
yes. Touch it.
watching,
No.
yeah, definitely will be an entertaining one to watch, I think.
Oh man, yeah. And the other thing is, like most games where you've got two teams that are, from the same state. Again, these teams are not that far apart distance-wise, and it's you've got situations where you got kids who played, with each other in high school who are playing against each other in this game. You got family situations where you got mom went to Michigan, dad went to Michigan State. You got, those kind of dynamics on it. You have in some cases, and this has happened in this particular rivalry, possibly as much, if not more than most, and that is you have brothers playing each other. Where a kid takes the trip to Ann Arbor and decides to be the Michigan kid, and his brother ends up at Michigan State playing for Spartans. So there's that element. So there's all kinds of crazy in this game, and so all kinds of crazy, which makes it fun to watch, but makes it an absolute do not ever touch it, for a betting possibility.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be a good idea. All right, the big game, big noon on Fox. This is the game we've been waiting for, and that is Penn State, the Nittany Lions, going to the Horseshoe to play the Ohio State Buckeyes. That's the big noon game on Fox.
Can't forget the in there, Jim. Gotta get it's
They
the
don't let
Ohio
you. They do
State.
not let you forget that.
Oh, I know, I know. Yeah, this is another game we've talked about already. Obviously,
Oh
I
yeah.
like Penn State in
Circle
this
this one.
one to win outright. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we've both said it already. This is the year, James Franklin. Man, this is your best shot at Ohio State.
Taking
So
them out. Yep.
either take it now or forever hold your peace.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this one, definitely is at noon. Um, this definitely is the game you're gonna want to watch. It's there's nothing in that comes even close. So by all means, you're gonna want to watch this one. So Penn State at Ohio State. That's the game at on Fox. The following it at 4 o'clock is an interesting game from the old Southwest Conference. Okay, Texas at Houston. Now, I don't know. I have no idea what the line is, but if I had to guess, and you'll tell me if I'm wrong, it's got to be in the 20s.
Oh, you're right.
I mean, because Texas, there's no way Houston beats Texas. I mean, unless unless the bus decides to not show up.
Yeah, so this one's a 23 and a half.
Yeah, I think they're being charitable at that point. Houston is just not a good football team, and Texas, unfortunately for Houston, is. Now Texas, in the Big, they'll be leaving for the Southeastern Conference, and ironically, Houston will be headed to take their place. There's a bit of a joke there, but all right, I'll let it go. The Cougs are not gonna, the Cougs might have a situation where they're playing a football game where literally there's more Texas fans in the stadium than there are Houston fans. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But yeah, no, Texas wants to be. There might be a one-loss team that makes it into the playoffs. Texas wants to be that one-loss team. And we talked about Oklahoma having getting the style points and pushing forward to the playoffs. I think if Oklahoma stays unbeaten, then that one loss that we just talked about, with Washington and Oregon, the one loss doesn't hurt you as bad. So I think Texas understands that style points mean something, and if they can roll over Houston, they'll roll over them. I don't know about you. That's, what'd you say, 23 points?
Yeah, it was 23 and a half. So three
Yeah.
touchdowns and a field goal.
Right.
And again, this is one, similar spot to Oregon for
Yeah.
Texas, except the fact that Texas has been sitting on it for 2 weeks now,
Yeah.
the loss. So
Right.
they've been stewing in that. And on the other side, you have Houston that's coming off that big Hail Mary win, first Big 12 win in their school history, or
Right.
well, Big 12 win as a Big 12 team.
Right.
Conference win as a Big 12 team.
Right.
Is the proper way to say it. But yeah, that was a huge win. Obviously, a little more motivation there for Dana Holgorsen since it was against West Virginia. And now you're coming off the Hail Mary win. You're still at home here, but are you really at home? Bit of a letdown spot against a pissed off team that's been sitting on a loss for 2 weeks. Yeah, this one spells trouble for Houston.
Well, I mean, you don't want to play Texas under normal circumstances. But an upset Texas that's had 2 weeks to prepare, no, that is not. They may have a little bit of of rust on them early, but this is one of those games where you expect quarters 2 through 4 to be like a pinball machine. But I don't know. I don't know about you. I personally wouldn't bet the game.
Yeah, this is not one I love. That's for sure.
Yeah. Now this one's very interesting. Utah is on the road at the Coliseum to face I guess the best way of putting it is a very disappointing USC Trojans. Now, Utah beat them in a very, one of the best games of the year last season when they played, in Salt Lake City. I don't know if you remember that game, but it was Cam Rising and Utah scored with, I think, maybe a minute left in the game, and so it was quite the entertaining game. And I think they even scored a 2-point conversion to beat SC last year. So Cam Rising was phenomenal in that game, as was it was a good quarterback situation, because you had Caleb Williams having an outstanding game. Both of them just blew out each other's defenses. Utah's defense has been much better. SC's defense has been much better, but both of them are going to struggle on offense.
Yeah, this USC team, you could call them disappointing. I'm sure they're disappointing for some people like Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams, but to me, this team is exactly what I thought they were. A 3-loss team. They got one against Notre Dame. They're gonna lose to Washington and Oregon as well, but I don't know. I don't think they lose this game. Obviously, they're at home now, and the tables are turned. But this is double revenge for them. Not just revenge. This is double revenge from last year, and they have the chance to beat up on a Cam Rising-less Utah team that has struggled on offense. Now, USC did struggle a lot against this Utah defense, so it's going to be an interesting game for sure to watch, because if you think USC is just a slam dunk here, well, Utah has a very good defense, and they gave them a ton of trouble last year. But we'll see if it's a matter of USC's bad defense against Utah's bad offense. How effective is Utah's bad offense going to be? I'm sure they'll be able to move the ball and score points, but it's going to be an interesting game for sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Utah is starting the freshman quarterback. I think it's Johnson is the last name.
Yeah, Nate Johnson.
He's an RPO quarterback. That's the thing is, they don't have the kind of talent to run that offense, okay? Because everything was geared toward Cam Rising, which, he's more of a traditional quarterback. The offense, with that run pass option, it requires the talents of guys that Utah doesn't have. And that's the problem, is that if SC makes Utah pass the ball, then that's going to be tough, because Johnson, as a freshman, he's a redshirt freshman, he's still a freshman. He runs really well, but his passing is incredibly inaccurate. So that's not a good thing. And SC, we know SC's defense has been what's kept them in the game the past couple of weeks. Didn't show up against Notre Dame at all, but it's going to be tough for Utah to put points on the board against SC. That's another game I wouldn't bet on. But,
yeah, it's interesting from a matchup standpoint, just because
Yeah.
obviously it's USC's strength versus Utah's strength, and Utah's weakness versus USC's weakness. So
Yeah,
which will prevail is the question.
absolutely. Let's blow down through some of this stuff. All right, here's a game. Interesting game. Texas Tech at BYU. Now, the only reason that it's interesting, not particularly because of two teams, I think BYU probably could beat Texas Tech at home, is that Texas Tech has never played a team in Utah. Now, they played teams from Utah, but they've always played them at home. They've never played them on the road. So this is a trip that they've taken. Texas Tech has played all the major schools in Utah. They just never have been in Utah to play them. So the Red Raiders are going up there to play. It seems like every team I talk about these days is named Cougar, but the BYU Cougars are on their way in that one.
There's just a lot in the Big 12 now, Jim. Houston
Right.
and BYU, obviously.
Yeah.
Two of the four they added were Cougars. It's like how now it's just like how the SEC has like 3 Tigers.
Yeah. Well, and Auburn has 3 different names, so 3 different mascot names. So it's all there. All right, that's on FS1. The Pac-12 After Dark is on FS1 this week, and that one, Arizona State goes to Washington to play the Huskies. That game will be played in Seattle, and although Arizona State is a much improved team, we here at the show think that Washington is the best team in the country, and I don't think that they're going to have a letdown.
Yeah, definitely not a Saturday you need to stay up for. Feel free, go to sleep. You're not going to miss much with that game. Washington's a 26.5 point favorite. I don't know if they're covering 26.5, but it'll be in the 20 to 30 range for sure, probably.
Absolutely. All right, let's see if we can find something else going on. Here's a game. We talked about Survivor games, right? Here's the Survivor game. Clemson at Miami. That game's on the ACC network. It's got an 8 o'clock start. Game's going to be played at Hard Rock Stadium down in Miami. Neither one of these teams can afford to lose. They just can't.
Yeah, neither one of these teams are really that good, but they both have 2 losses in the ACC. So this is one where the loser of this game, your season is 100% over, and even the winner, you'll be lucky if you make it to the championship game, because you're going to have a lot of teams ahead of you that you need to get 2 losses still.
Right. No, this is more, and this is more of a Mario Cristobal at Miami needs this win. He needs it for recruiting. Clemson, if they lose the game, then Dabo's got problems, because people will begin to wonder, 2 straight years of Clemson not being relevant is 2 years they can't afford not to be relevant. So this is if Miami needs to win out, and Clemson needs to win out if they are to become, they both have recruiting classes that seem to be good, but those three recruiting classes can go really bad if you don't deliver, and that I think is the most important part here. Is sometimes you have to look at a game not necessarily for the now, but for the future, and this I think is a survivor for the future more than it is for the now. Anyway, who is Miami favored in this game?
Clemson is a 3-point favorite.
Okay, so at Miami.
Yeah.
So basically, they're like a 6 or 7 point favorite, except for because they have to play the game in Miami.
Yeah.
They lose points. Well, last time Miami played in Miami, we already know what happened there. I'm pretty sure that if Miami's in that position against Clemson, they'll just take a knee and lead and not run to try to make something happen on that one. So there you go. All right, let me see if I can find the game of the week on CBSN. I'm tempted to say South Florida, Connecticut, which of course it's not, but probably Utah State and San Jose State over there. It could be a fun one. Baylor at Cincinnati is the ESPN Plus noon game. So there you go. It's going to be some interesting stuff. And now it's time to move over to go to the NFL so we can get through that real quick. And, last night was a fun game to watch. It was entertaining. And Jacksonville came through and beat New Orleans. It was a weird game toward the end because he was like, okay, does anybody really want to win this game? But I was impressed with Trevor Lawrence. I mean, he ran, I think he was close to 70, 75 yards on running. He basically said he couldn't cut, but he could run straight. And fortunately for him, that's all he had to do was run straight. And he avoided getting nailed from sacks. So it was a good game for him. A lot better than I expected.
Yeah, he was a lot more mobile for a guy playing with a knee brace, and it was very clear on the runs.
You could
that
see it.
He was getting. Yeah, he had a ton of green grass ahead of him, and it was very apparent that the Saints had schemed as to not to account for him as a runner this game because of the knee brace, and that really bit them because there was a few of those long situations where he would rip off like a 30-yard run and he would still get out of bounds without even being pushed. He would just see the defender come in and say, "Oh, we're going to step out now."
Time to move. And you know what? Trevor Lawrence has had problems when he's run and he hasn't run smart. This game against New Orleans, he ran smart, and I thought that was pretty impressive for him. It's funny, all of the success that he had as a college quarterback, he was 0-2 in that New Orleans Superdome.
Wow,
but last night, he took home his W, and look, it just made Jacksonville look even better. And
but that Saints offense is terrible too.
God. Well, they had the guy dropped what could have been the tying touchdown on one of the final plays of the game. I mean, they hit him in the worst place, right in the hands, and he just bunked it off. Then the second one, which was a more contested play, was still catchable, and they didn't catch it. So, you wonder if it's the wide receivers. Kamara wasn't overly, Kamara was great going from the 20 to the 20, but once he got down there, it didn't seem to work for him. So, it was a game where you sit back and said, forget about New Orleans being a playoff team. This is not a playoff team.
Yeah, I've been low on this New Orleans team for the last 2 years. I think Dennis Allen is a trash head coach. He's never had a winning record as a head coach going back to his days on the Chargers,
Hmm.
and this is one where the Saints defense kind of changed my mind at the beginning of the season. I said, okay, they got Derek Carr now. You actually the possibility of a consistent quarterback. Maybe I'll give them a chance this year and see what they can do in these first few games. Well, what I originally thought about them is right. This team is trash, and I was on the Saints last night, so I'm
Hmm.
not happy about it. But yeah, this team is trash. The defense kept them in that game,
Hmm.
and the offense, time and time again, they just couldn't get it done. They couldn't move the ball. There was multiple occasions last night where the Saints defense had turned the ball over at midfield, and then Derek Carr came out and went 3-and-out. Like, you need to take advantage of those situations. So until their offense gets their crap together, the Saints are a bad team. Doesn't
Hmm.
matter how good that defense is because they're going to be playing 45 minutes of the game.
Whether you like it or not. So here's the early games on CBS. Buffalo at New England. Iron Eagle Charles Davis on that call. Um, shouldn't be tough for Buffalo. Um, Buffalo's had horror stories of going into Foxborough and playing. I don't expect this week will be one of them.
Yeah, I think the horror stories are on the other side these days.
Yeah,
So,
it's in a rearview mirror now.
but especially after the Giants win, I think this has to be a blowout spot for Buffalo. We've talked a lot about how we don't think this New England team is any good, so
Yeah,
we'll leave it at that.
just that's all you need to know. Speaking of not good, they're contractually obligated to play. So Washington and New York play each other. Game's going to be in the Meadowlands. Andrew Cartolone will take the trip across the bridge from Manhattan, and he'll call the game with Tiki Barber and Matt Ryan. Um, that's the Commanders and the Giants game. I I don't know. I think that Washington can win the game, but it's not going to be, this has got ugly written all over it.
Yeah, that's contractually obligated to play
Right.
each other twice, Jim.
Yeah,
Not
not
once,
once, but twice.
but twice. But yeah, this is one of those games where if you want to bet on it, just plug your nose and wait till the game's over and check the score.
Right. And basically just why. But okay. Here's an interesting game. All right. Cleveland at Indianapolis. Now, there's no reason on the planet to figure that Indianapolis is going to win this game. But there's something about Cleveland and covering the spread that would concern me. This is a Spiro Ditas, a great guy, Spiro Ditas, and Adam Archuleta, a very underrated broadcast team, doing the game on Sunday in Indianapolis. So the Colts host Cleveland. Your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, this is just a weird game for me. I really have no feel on it whatsoever. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
the Browns, I think they have one of the best defenses in the league, if not the best. But they also got helped by a lot of flags last week, and I don't think they deserved to beat the 49ers. Their offense, even with
Mm-hmm.
PJ Walker, just didn't do enough. And now you have Minshew Mania running the show
There
down
you
in
go.
Colts with Richardson out for the year. And Minshew, we've talked about it a lot, how
Yeah.
we think he's a very competent backup quarterback.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is a game. I think Cleveland's like a 2-point favorite in this game, and this is a stay off for me. I have no feel on what's going to
It's
happen
like
here.
let it go, my friends. Okay. Statement win. Chargers at Kansas City.
Yeah, this is the game
Nance
he
and
should have been
Romo.
focused on.
Nance and Romo got the call on.
And it was look ahead, too. I can't believe he said that the week you had them on deck.
Right.
Ridiculous, Herbert. Know your schedule.
Right. Come on, Justin. Get. I mean, he's doing SoFi commercials, but you got to do better than that. Got to do better than that.
He's doing Subway commercials with Mahomes now.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. I mean, they're both on the same payroll on that one. Green Bay at Denver, another contractually obligated game. That's Harlan and Trent Green. So there's your games on
Denver
CBS.
looked so bad on Thursday night. Don't even watch that game. There's
Yeah,
there's not a lot of 4 o'clock games, but there's got to be better ones than
there's
that.
got to be movies. Just go to Netflix and chill. Have a good one there.
That's a real clunker.
Yeah, that's
And
that's
Green Bay's a 1 point favorite just for the record. So even the books are like,
yeah.
you
We're staying
figure
off
out
this.
who's winning that one.
Here theoretically could be the game of the weekend. At least one of the games of the weekend, and that's Detroit at Baltimore. Um, Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson. That's the number one team for Fox. Is going to be in Charm City, over at M&T Bank Stadium. Detroit comes to Baltimore, and these two are legit, and we'll see. Detroit's coming off of a good win over the Buccaneers. Baltimore's coming off of a loss.
Yeah, this game's a bit
Or
unbettable.
no, I'm sorry. They were in London last week,
Yeah.
so they're
Um,
coming off a win.
This game's a bit unbettable for me though, just because the line is 3 points for Baltimore. They're favored by 3, and this is one I just feel like it's going to push. But it's going to be a very good game to watch because
Right.
definitely two of the better teams in the NFL. It's just
Right.
the line leads me to think that this one might end in a push, and if you bet on a side, you might just get your money back anyway.
That's right. Um, Definitely stay. Talking about stay off. Vegas at Chicago. Kevin Kugler, Mark Sanchez.
Ooh, that's another. What a great matchup! They're blessing us with such great matchups this Sunday, Jim.
I think Chicago probably wouldn't mind having Mark Sanchez quarterback the team.
Well, they're gonna have what Tyson Bagent is making his first career
Well,
start, rookie at a Division II
right.
Shepherd University.
which we found for you. It's in West Virginia. I think you had it nailed the other day. Who was it? It was the receiver from Chicago that was
DJ
singing the
Moore.
praises. Okay, singing the praises. Well, we'll find out this week. And
Well, I also found out about Bayesian. Apparently, he won an award at Shepherd, which was, or in Division
okay.
II football, he won an award that is, I think, equivalent to the Heisman Trophy at the
okay.
Division II level. So that was the whole reason, I guess, why the Bears had an eye on him at all, right?
Okay.
He won this award. They looked at what he did at Shepherd University. Must have been solid work there. So yeah, you know what? He didn't look terrible. I did watch that game on the weekend, and I saw him come in. Besides the strip sack and the interception at the end, it was his first start ever. Well, not even a start, right? He got thrown into the game when the game plan wasn't for him. So I'm not going to blame him when you got to put the team on your back in the last 2 minutes and drive down the field. You throw that interception, that's fine. That wasn't really a game you're supposed to win anyway. The strip sack, that one's a little more on him. But again, it's that was like on one of the first few plays he was in there. It's like, let him get a little used to the play. I think he'll be more prepared for this week.
Well, he's got a chance. I mean, that's all you ask for, right? You step in there and you want an opportunity.
Well,
So,
Jimmy G threw his back out. So I think he's
I
going
know.
up against a backup QB too, right? Is it going to be Brian Hoyer or Aiden McConnell?
I think it's going to be Hoyer. But,
Yeah, okay. The
does it
journeyman
really
and
matter?
the ageless wonder.
Right, does it really matter?
Isn't he like 40 by now? Isn't he like a Tom Brady?
I thought he was 80.
He was Tom Brady's backup for years, and he was older than Brady, wasn't he?
Right, yes, he was. So, if Tom's 42, or no, 40. No, he's older than 40.
Isn't he?
Tom's 41. So, I don't know.
Now I'm
Curious, huh?
I gotta look this up now.
Gotta look at him up.
A lovely audience here.
There you go. While you're looking
He's only
it up-
38. He's younger than
Really?
Brady.
God, that's amazing. I would not have thought that. All right.
Man, whatever Brady's taking, man, that's skin.
There you go. Well, I mean, come on, he was married to a model, so.
That's true. That's true. You got all
So,
he was
he
married
does
to a
he
witch
does-
doctor, Jim.
That's true too. Yeah, he a model and a witch doctor. So I don't know, Giselle.
Certified witch.
That's right. And the Buccaneers probably fully understand the power of her when he divorced her in last year's team. So anyway, the Buccaneers host Atlanta with New Orleans losing. If the Buccaneers can win this game, and we already said that Baker Mayfield has got them in a pissed off mood. If they can win this game at Ray J, then they pull a full game up on both Atlanta and New Orleans, which, given the rest of the schedule, at least for the next couple of weeks, is probably a good idea.
Yeah, this game's massive for Baker and the boys. So
Right.
we will see how the official team of Odds on Sports does this weekend.
That's right. And we can use the the name of a great movie called The Fabulous Baker Boys. We'll just call them, last year they called them the Brady Bunch. This year we can call them the Fabulous Baker Boys. So
You just came up with their new nickname.
that's right.
Their new NFL nickname.
We not only name stadiums and arenas, we also name teams. So there you go.
Give
The
us a
late
call,
game.
Commanders.
That's right. Please, I'm begging you. The late game, the Steelers are in SoFi to play the Rams. That game is a late game with Adam Min and Daryl Moose Johnson calling that game out there. There's gonna be 60-40 Steelers fans over the Rams fans in that building. And the contractually obligated game between Arizona and Seattle with Kenny Albert and Jonathan Wilma calling that game. So that's those are the games on Fox. The game on Sunday night, as you said, we get a good one, and that is Miami at Philly. It's in the Rye Cape Bowl. This will be should be a fun game on Sunday night.
Yeah, another good one. Stay up on Sunday. You can go to sleep early Saturday, but not on
Right.
Sunday.
Rest well. That way you can get it done. The Monday night game is Frisco and Minnesota. We'll talk about that later on Monday. But
Not a bad one as well.
No, again, it's definitely an interesting one, and the Miami Philly game should be fun. It should be very fun, and we'll see how that plays out. But what's the line on that? Philly is probably a favorite, right?
Philly opened up as like a 4-point favorite, got
They-
bet down to 1 very early in the week,
Whoa.
and now it's back up to 2.5.
Stay away. Stay far away.
Yeah, so a lot of line movement, fluctuating, never crossed 0, but a lot of fluctuation through some key numbers.
That's usually not good. Yeah, Miami. Well, I guess the bottom line here is if Miami can I don't know, Philly's secondary. I don't know if the Philly secondary can. I mean, Miami's a track team, so I don't know that there's anybody who has who has the tools to stay on the corners and the safeties and those guys. The back end, they're gonna have to put pressure on Tua, because if they don't, Philadelphia's in trouble.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting for sure.
And Miami, Miami's defense is going to have to deal with, Jalen Hurts. So, 2 former University of Alabama quarterbacks taking each other on. So
that's the thing, right?
Roll Tide.
It's 2 questionable defenses.
Yeah.
And then it's a matter of, on offense, it's Miami's speed versus the Eagles' physicality.
Yeah.
Which one's going to win out?
Speed versus beating the hell out of you. So
yeah, because the Eagles are going to want to be pounding the rock down your throat all night, 10-minute drives, whereas Tua and Hill just want to go 80 yards on one play and burn you in 40 seconds.
And that's the way it works. I mean, it's like Tua and Hill are going like, hey, well, we got no problem with this. We got this. Don't worry about it.
Quick strike versus long, methodical.
Yep. And long and methodical, not necessarily, this is the quick strike offense is something that, it's something I agree. Philadelphia's going to want to shorten this game as much as possible. They might be able to do it if they can run, but that's the problem. They have not been able to do that this season thus far. But we'll see. Miami and Philly, a good Sunday night game. All right. Before we get out of here, we will be getting out of here soon. Let's take a quick look. Now, this is the final weekend for the MLS, and follow us on this one, folks. All of the games are going to be 6 p.m. local time. Let me just say 6 p.m. is Eastern time. All the games start at 6 p.m. Eastern time, which obviously in the Midwest is 5 p.m. And then out west it's 9 p.m. Eastern time, which is 6 p.m. Here on the East Coast. So I don't know what they're doing. They're just trying to get everybody playing these games at the same time. I understand that theory is so that you can, if you're playing to get into the playoffs, you've got you don't know what's going on in the other games. Clearly, they don't realize that there are scoreboards in these stadiums that people can watch. So I don't know, and television. So I don't know. Evidently, nobody in the MLS has an MLS season pass on Apple TV to get in. But all the games will be on the MLS Pass, and all of them will be available to stream on Apple TV. So there you go. It's anything on the MLS schedule that hits your fancy, my friend?
Not really. Nothing for this weekend that I've seen yet.
All right. The early games we already said that Man City and Brighton will be a good game on early in the morning on Saturday morning. What's your thoughts on Liverpool and Everton, or Chelsea and Arsenal?
Yeah, I think Chelsea and Arsenal will be a very good game to watch for sure. Chelsea's in their last few matches has looked a lot better. They're starting to look like the team I picked to win the Premier League at the beginning of the season. This was the thing we were talking about yesterday, where they're starting to turn those expected goals into actual goals in these matches.
So it's a good thing.
Yeah, and they're coming off, like I said, they're coming off the international break, which benefits both teams. But at the same time, Chelsea doesn't have European competition. They only have these Premier League matches to focus on. So their focus is going to be, let's beat Arsenal, let's climb the table. Whereas Arsenal could have one, they're on the road here. They could have one eye looking ahead to their Champions League match next week. I think they play on the Tuesday. I'm not 100% sure on that, but yeah, it's always tougher for these teams that have to play on the next week, because you don't know how invested in this particular match, especially if they're going up against a lesser team. They could really overlook them and then come away with a draw. We see it happen all the time. So
sure. Well, it's usually the Saturday. The teams that play on Saturday play on Tuesday, and the teams that play on Sunday play on Wednesday. Usually, doesn't always happen that way, but most.
Well, there's only one Sunday game in the Premier League, so because we're coming back from the international break, they just slapped everybody on Saturday. Even the Thursday Europa League and Conference League teams said everybody's just going to play Saturday, and then all we have on Sunday is Aston Villa versus somebody. I forget who they're playing, but
just for the record, guys, the Chelsea Arsenal games on NBC. Everything else is on Peacock. So if you're going to watch Premier this weekend, it's NBC for the game, the 12:30 game, which is Chelsea and Arsenal, and then everything else is on Peacock. Anything in the Spanish or Italian or German or French league that we should be paying attention to this week?
That I have not looked into fully yet, but I'm sure I'll have tons of plays up for anybody looking to bet those games for the weekend.
Fair enough. All right, my friend, let's put an end on this one. Where can people find all of your amazing content?
Yeah, so check out my premium plays at bigal.com, pickadvisor.com, and theinsidersroom.com. I have tons of college football and NFL up for the weekend already. My Premier League card will be posted right after this show, as well as some other soccer plays in various leagues. And yeah, it'll be a big weekend, so go check that out.
It'll be fun. And if you're a NASCAR fan, which they race on Sunday in Miami, your brother Rye Cape, who can be found in that same area over there, probably has something for you if you're a motorsports fan. So
Yeah, definitely. Check out the Insiders Room Discord if you want to ask him questions. He's in there to answer questions. He does his NASCAR report on the weekends as well, so
cool.
check that out.
So are you on the Discord channel as well?
Yes, I am in there as well, so feel free to ask me any soccer questions you need. I can answer.
Now, quickly, just for those who are not Discordian, is it don't you have to be invited to join? I'm asking.
Yeah, you do have to be invited, but you can find the Insiders Room Twitter page on X, and there's it's open to everybody. It's a free
Okay.
community. You don't have to pay for anything to join, and we're more than if you can't find a way to get into the Discord, we're more than happy to send you an invite. So yeah, definitely go check out. It's a great sports betting community for people just to talk and discuss about the games.
And Discord is much more of just that. It is a community where Twitter is more of a reactionary group of people.
Yeah.
Making other people's lives torturous. But yeah, but absolutely. All right. Well, look, check them out on Twitter, and then on it's AM underscore plus money on Twitter, which is also X. You can find him, and he will find you there. And if you want to go to Discord, you can DM him, and I'm sure he'll get you there. So
Yes.
very cool. All right, guys, have a wonderful weekend. We'll be back on Monday, and by that time we may have a World Series situation, but we shall see what we shall see. Be well, take care, and we'll see you on Monday, gang. Take care.